welcome to Sky Sweaty Record Review, episode 184, the only first listed new music review show hosted by a French professor immediately after leaving the YMCA. As you may be able to tell, it's October, and October means Halloween. In my house, it's a big deal. My daughter loves Halloween. I love Count Chocula cereal, and really, the world needs more Halloween rituals. It just does. There's a lot of Christmas traditions and all that, and most of them are kind of lame. Basically, Halloween is batting 1,000. It's like hay rides and haunted houses and getting dressed up and skeletons and skulls and all that stuff. Halloween's great. So it's in that context that I'm going to be reviewing an album by Kim Petras, Turn Off the Light. Now, you may be thinking, hey, you've already reviewed Turn Off the Light by Kim Petras, and it's true. I reviewed it a year ago. It turns out, I think, she's releasing an album every year for Halloween. And so I'm just really excited. Let me describe it a little bit, and then I'll figure out if it's a recommendation. Because if you don't like the way this sounds, then you're not going to like it. I would say it's horror-tinged pop. It's not really horror drenched. There's nothing really super gross and disgusting. But it's all kind of campy takes on horror tropes. But then none of it is actually about death and destruction. It's all basically put through the lens of a pop singer who sings about, love and sex and sex and sex and also sex. So it's basically like that. She has a very strong, clear voice. My biggest problem is that it reminds me of Lady Gaga, and I just don't like Lady Gaga's voice that much. But the production is by Made in China and some other guy. What's his name? Vaughn Oliver. And they produced the last record as well. And it's just really good production. I would say it's kind of housey, kind of Daft Punky. So really, it's if Daft Punk on a bad day made an album with Lady Gaga and Count Chocula, this would be the record. So, Daft Punk on a bad day with Lady Gaga and Count Chocula may be the best thing I've ever done on this show. That may be the best metaphor of all my many, many metaphors I've ever drawn. So I'll kind of go through it. Now, it's a little bit tricky because it's a 40-minute album, but she just took the last year's album and put it right in the middle. So in a way, I'm only going to be reviewing half of this record. If you want to watch my old review, sitting in the same seat, but less confident in my ability to do a YouTube show, check out the link. I'll put it here. I don't know if it goes there or there, so I'll just do that. Okay? So, watch that. In that, I called it sexy Halloween pop, and that still fits in. It's sexy Halloween pop. I think I might call this one haunted house pop, because it's kind of housey and haunted house. I'm just getting cute with this stuff. But for the new music, so I like the old album quite a bit. My favorite track on the whole album is still my favorite from the first time. I'm just looking at the track names here. What was it? In the Next Life. That's still my favorite on the whole thing. But the new tracks are excellent. It starts off with this kind of suite, an excellent suite, with an instrumental track called Purgatory, and then There Will Be Blood, and then My Bloody Valentine. All of these, basically the whole record is she is a serial killer or a monster, and you are in love with her, and you're gonna, let's just call it what it is. You're gonna have sex with her, and in the act of having sex with her, she is going to kill you somehow, or you're going to die. Or you made a huge mistake, wrong turn. It's you took a wrong turn. And so it's the horror movie trope of, you took a wrong turn, except the wrong turn is going home with her. Similar with There Will Be Blood, similar with the song Massacre. There's just it's a very consistent theme album. Oops, you went home with Kim Petras. It's of course, Count Chocula. Can we talk about Count Chocula? He has reverse fangs. What is that? How is he supposed to suck your blood? He's got rabbit teeth. Anyway. So, but the whole beginning of this record is all one continuous, suite of songs with no interruption in between them. I'm going to play a little bit of My Bloody Valentine. I don't know if it's the most exemplary. It's one of my favorite parts. My favorite songs are the songs with a little bit less singing, where the voice is a little bit less present. Just because, again, I don't love her voice, but I love what this album is, if that makes sense. So I'll play a little bit of My Bloody Valentine, which just has her voice kind of chopped up with this great sort of I don't know, bargain basement Daft Punk production. And I'm being harsh. It's very capable production, but I don't like comparing anything to Daft Punk that isn't like 100% genius. If that makes sense. Okay, here we go. So here's a little bit of Bloody Valentine off the new Kim Petras album, Turn Off the Light. Not to be confused with her album from last year, Turn Off the Light. She really wants you to turn that light off. So, you know, that's mostly instrumental. And then I'll kind of give you an example of what it sounds like when she's singing. A little bit more exemplary of the track. Here's Wrong Turn. So she has a little bit of this vibrato thing, which I don't love. So this is a little bit more of what the album is more in general. This is Wrong Turn. I've said that 3 times now. Actually, I love this song. Actually, I don't mind her vocals as much now. Listening to it a second time, it's pretty nice. And then after Wrong Turn, it goes into maybe my favorite track, Demons. It's just 100% instrumental with just these weird sort of sound things. And the whole thing is like, I want more music to listen to. Because with Christmas music, right? Christmas music like is terrible all year long, except you enjoy it for like a month. Whereas Halloween music is usually just pretty good. Like any music you can play during Halloween is like just fairly solid. And then Massacre, which is another in this theme of what happens if you go home with her. And then Knives, which is a really cool track where they use the sound of like knives cutting and slicing into each other as the backdrop. Another sort of instrumental track. Demons and Knives fit really well within the song Transylvania from the other half of this record. It's really an excellently produced album in the way that the singing and the instrumental bits are well balanced. There's enough of each, and all within this nice kind of spooky, faux spooky theme. After Knives is the track Death by Sex, which is maybe the stupidest track on the album, because at one point she's just like sex, 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 sex. But it's kind of like that Wrong Turn song. It's basically like the rest of it. At its worst, it's kind of forgettable but catchy, which is not bad. Then the final track is Everybody Dies. So I'm just skipping over the old review, which hopefully you've already watched, of the other tracks. Although it is worth saying that the track Turn Off the Light, taking Elvira and making her do the role that Vincent Price had in Thriller, beautiful. It's very fun to listen to. Everyone should listen to Turn Off the Light every Halloween, just on principle, because Elvira's in it. So the last track is Everybody Dies, and that's just great because it's this like inspirational song, you know, like baby you're a firework, but it's through this bizarre kind of Halloween lens where it's not everybody lives, but everybody dies, and that actually ends up being a fairly emotionally moving song. The production on that's not great. It's kind of like one of those like old 50s boop 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 songs, but that's all right. It is worth mentioning that the guy who produced this mainly is Made in China, which is what that guy Dr. Luke changed his name to. But then, you know, he's in disgrace because of his fight with Kesha. But I don't know. As far as I could tell, he was never actually charged with anything. I can't quite figure out what that is. I don't know what the true story is. So I had this sort of ambiguous feeling listening to this record. Like, am I supporting like a woman beater and an abuser? I don't know. So, boy, this took a weird turn. I took a wrong turn. All right, so there's my review of Kim Petras. Very fun, very enjoyable, sexy Halloween pop, haunted house, Count Chocula, the musical. I don't know. All right, until next time, for me, Bonesy McGee and Count Chocula, there's the camera.